Over the past week, your feed has been flooded with one headline. China just dropped a free AI model that beats GPT 5.5. It's called GLM 5.2. And normally, I tell you to ignore the hype. But this time is different. Because the people losing their minds over this aren't anonymous hype accounts. They are the most respected engineers on the planet. And some of them are canceling their paid subscriptions because of it. So I read every benchmark, traced who built it, and pulled together exactly what the experts are saying. Here's the honest truth: the hype is half wrong, but the half that's right might be the best deal in all of AI. First, what even is this thing? GLM 5.2 is built by a company called Z.ai, the team formerly known as Zhipu, out of China. They released it on June 13th, 2026. And the headline feature is this: it's open weights. That means, unlike GPT 5.5 or Claude, you can download the entire model for free under an open MIT license and run it on your own hardware. Under the hood, it's a mixture of experts model, around 744 billion total parameters. But it only switches on about 40 billion at a time, which keeps it fast and cheap. And it reads up to 1 million tokens of context. That's an entire codebase in a single shot. So how does a free model pull this off? For that, I'll hand it to Sebastian Raschka, the guy who literally wrote the book on building these models from scratch. He broke down the architecture, and it's clever. GLM 5.2 borrows two ideas from DeepSeek: latent attention and sparse attention, which lets the model focus only on the tokens that matter, instead of all of them. Then Z.ai added their own twist called IndexShare. Normally, a model recomputes which tokens to focus on at every single layer, which is expensive. GLM 5.2 computes it once every 4 layers and reuses it. The payoff? That massive 1 million token context becomes dramatically cheaper to run. And Rashka's verdict: remember, he's completely independent. Quote, the best open weight model today. Now, the claim that broke the internet. On the coding benchmarks Z.ai published, GLM 5.2 goes toe to toe with the best closed models money can buy. On Frontier SWE, a brutal test of hours-long coding tasks, it scores 74.4. That edges out GPT 5.5 at 72.6 and lands within a single point of Claude Opus 4.8. On Terminal Bench, it hits 81. On SWE-bench Pro, 62.1, the highest any open model has ever posted. If you just read those numbers, the closed source kings just got dethroned by a free download. But there's a catch hiding in there, and you need to see it. Here's the catch: every one of those coding scores comes from Z.ai's own testing. They graded their own homework. So let's look at the one scoreboard they don't control. Artificial Analysis is an independent lab that benchmarks every major model the same way. On their intelligence index, GLM 5.2 scores 51. And that makes it, without question, the number one open weights model on the planet. That part of the hype is completely true. But watch what happens when you remove the word open. Overall, across every model, it ranks 4th. Ahead of it sit Fable 5 at 60, Claude Opus 4.8 at 56, and GPT 5.5 at 55. So is it a GPT 5.5 killer? On the independent board, not quite. It's the best open model in the world, sitting just behind the closed frontier. And for a free download, that's stunning. And here's where it gets genuinely exciting, because on one independent test, it really does catch GPT 5.5. Artificial Analysis runs a benchmark called GDPval. It measures how well a model handles real, economically valuable work, the kind of tasks people actually pay money for. On that test, GLM 5.2 scores 1524, GPT 5.5 1514. That is a dead heat. So, on the work that actually matters in the real world, a free, downloadable model just pulled level with one of the most expensive closed models on the market. And now, the number that changes everything: price. To use GPT 5.5 through its API, you pay around $5 per million input tokens and $30 per million output tokens. Claude Opus 4.8 is $5 in, 25 out. GLM 5.2, $1.40 in and $4.40 out. Let that sink in. On output, the part you pay the most for, it is nearly 7 times cheaper than GPT 5.5. Roughly the same league of intelligence for a fraction of the price. For anyone running an agent that writes thousands of lines of code a day, that's the difference between a fun experiment and an actual business. Now, in the spirit of honesty, there's one asterisk. On the benchmarks, GLM 5.2 is a verbose thinker, burning around 43,000 output tokens, reasoning through a typical task. But here's the twist: the people actually using it disagree that it's a problem. Jeremy Howard, the co founder of Fast.ai, called it, quote, super fast, inexpensive, and not too verbose. So the benchmark says chatty. The practitioners say it feels fast. Either way, even with the extra thinking, it is still dramatically cheaper than the closed models. The discount is real. So, who do you actually believe? Quick rule of thumb: when a company publishes benchmarks about its own model, treat those as the ceiling, the best it can possibly do. When an independent lab tests it, that's closer to the floor you'll really experience. Z.ai's coding numbers say frontier killer. The independent numbers say best open model, just shy of the top. The truth lives in between. And the beautiful part, because this thing is open, you don't have to trust anyone at all. You can download it and test it on your own code for free today. There's one more thing I'd be doing you a disservice not to mention. There are two ways to use GLM 5.2, and they carry very different risks. Option 1: download the open weights and run it locally on your own machine. Your code never leaves your control. Completely private, completely safe. Option 2: use Z.ai's hosted API, which is easier, but now your data flows to servers in China. But here's the good news that dropped this week: you don't have to choose between easy and safe anymore. Olama just put GLM 5.2 on its cloud, and it's entirely US based, running on NVIDIA's brand new Blackwell chips, and they doubled capacity just to keep up with demand. Their words: we believe privacy matters. So you can run this model privately without ever touching a server in China. Okay, now let me just show you the reactions because they are remarkable. Jeremy Howard, again, GLM 5.2 is a marvel. It is at least as good as Opus 4.8 and GPT 5.5. And then, I've never experienced an open weights model like this before. Sebastian Raschka, simply, the best open weight model today. And here's my favorite, because Riley Brown is a self-described skeptic of open models. They've never lived up to the hype, in his words. His verdict on this one? This is the first model that passes the vibe check. This feels like a DeepSeek R1 moment. When the skeptics flip, you pay attention. But this is the reaction that should scare the billion-dollar labs. Andrei Burkov, another deeply respected name in machine learning, spent 3 days running GLM 5.2 inside OpenCode instead of OpenAI's Codex. His report: there wasn't a single bug it failed to fix or a feature it failed to add. Then he said the quiet part out loud. Quote, I will cancel my $100 a month subscription with OpenAI. I already cancelled my Anthropic subscription and have no regrets. And then the line now echoing across the industry. No mode isn't hypothetical anymore. A free model is making serious engineers cancel $200 habits. Let that sink in. And it isn't just developers. This caught the eye of the most powerful people in tech. When someone asked Elon Musk, how long until China reaches Fable class? The absolute frontier. Musk answered probably Q1. Then Jie Tang, a co founder of Z.ai himself, replied, won't take that long. And Mark Andreessen, one of the most influential investors alive, reposted the whole exchange with a single loaded word. Interesting. When Musk and Andreessen are watching your free model, the entire race has changed. And the demand is exploding. Matt Pocock, a developer that 250,000 people follow, summed up the whole mood in one line. Getting FOMO about an open weights model hatai e bai ki baat se nahi for the first time. That's the shift. For years, open models were the budget option you settled for. GLM 5.2 is the first one people are genuinely racing to get their hands on. So let me show you exactly how to be one of them. You've got 3 easy paths. The simplest, go to the Z.ai website or its coding plan and use it right away. Just mind the data caveat. The most private, run it through Ollama's US based cloud or download it and run it on your own machine entirely offline. And the most powerful, grab the open weights from Hugging Face. The repo is zai-org/glm-5.2 and there's an FP8 version that runs on far less hardware. Then, plug it straight into the coding tools you already use. It works inside Claude Code, inside OpenCode, and inside Z.ai's own Z code. A near frontier coding brain in the tools you already love for a fraction of the cost. So, final verdict. Is GLM 5.2 the GPT 5.5 killer the headlines promised? Honestly, not quite. On the independent boards, it sits fourth overall, a hair behind the closed frontier. But that question was always the wrong one. Here's the right one. Is it the best AI you can download, own, and run? For a fraction of the price of anything close to it? Absolutely yes. It's the strongest open model ever released. It ties GPT 5.5 on real economic work. It's winning over the skeptics. And it's making people cancel $200 subscriptions. That's not a loss. That's open source landing a clean punch on the frontier. And it is only getting started. So don't buy the hype. Buy the breakthrough sitting right underneath it. Now, I built you something to make all of this easy. I packed the entire honest scorecard, the real benchmark table, the true cost math, the local versus API safety guide, and a copy-paste setup to run GLM 5.2 inside Claude Code into one free, one-page kit. To grab it, just comment the word GLM, and I'll send it straight to you. And if you want to go deeper on agentic coding, my full Claude Code guide is linked below. If this saved you time or money, do subscribe and follow along on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. I do the costly testing, so you don't have to. One quick tip. This one runs detailed, so feel free to watch at 1.25 speed. I'll see you in the next one.